We know many of you will have time for some professional development during the COVID crisis, and so we put together a list of some trainings that you can possibly take. And we also needed a way to track all of the trainings that are done, so we've added some tools to your WAP reports page to help with this. When you get there, you'll notice there's 4 buttons that weren't there before, and from the top to bottom, we've got a button here where you can log the training that you take. Each person in your agency needs to get in and log every individual training that they complete by clicking on this button. If you need to, you can click on this button and then you can just send them the URL to fill this out whenever they want. So you could send that out to your whole agency just in an email if you need to, if you don't want them all coming to your WAP reports page. But yeah, so we need to log all the trainings. We have a training approval request, so if there's a training that's not on the pre-approved list, but you think that it's applicable, then you can fill this out and submit it to the state for approval. There's a pre-approved training list, which I'll jump into here in a minute. And then once you have logged a training, this just shows you all of the trainings that have been logged for your agency. So you'll be able to see those as soon as they have been submitted. So the pre-approved training list, just really quickly, let me click into that list and show you what it looks like. This is a resource that we received at the national level. Folks were able to identify a number of trainings, that are online trainings that are applicable to the weatherization program. We've gone through them and identified whether they're applicable to these different job categories, and so we've kind of identified which ones they are applicable to. And you do need to get permission from your coordinator to take any of these courses, but also be mindful as you're selecting them that they also need to be applicable to your specific job responsibilities. So if you're an energy auditor, you should not really be spending $100 to take a crew leader course. So be aware of that, but hopefully this will be a good resource. There's a lot of great stuff here, but we need you to actually log every time you complete one of these. We need you to log that so we can keep track of all the training that our program's doing during this crisis. I forgot. That's the first page, the approved online trainings. The second page of this is any of the case-by-case trainings that are submitted to the state and that are approved. They will all show up here. As you can see, there's just garbage here right now. But basically, this is a list of everything that gets approved. And so if you're wondering, you're not seeing what you like on this approved online training list, you can look through this to see what other agencies have submitted. And if you see something you like, then you could submit something for your agency and get approval for it. When you're looking at this list, and especially when you're actually reporting the trainings that you've attended, your agency has to have been approved for that training. So if I was from Bragg, I couldn't select the Yucca's tying your shoe. I would have to submit this whole tying your shoe training for the agency of Bragg, and once it was approved, then I could select that. So be careful of that. But that's the pre-approved training list. The training approval request. So if you don't see something on this list, but you're aware of something else that would be a really good training, you can submit that to the state. So I'm going to click on this. Now, one thing to note, when you click on any of these buttons, if nothing happens, it might be because of a pop-up blocker. So check up, depending on what your browser is doing, check up here or on the tab, wherever your pop-up blocker notification shows up. When you click on these links, it is taking you to a different URL, and you will have to allow for pop-up blockers. Also, if you get to any of these worksheets, like this one that says logged trainings, so if I click on this, the first time you get here, it's probably going to be a white sheet and have an error, or it'll have a message to allow access up here in the top corner. You've got to click on that, and you've got to allow access. This is a safety mechanism because there is code written into some of these links. This is Google telling you, be careful. Are you sure you want to go there? Someone smarter than me could write some malicious code, but I assure you that if you allow access, all of these things are fairly safe. So go ahead and click through those. Once you've done it one time, it should open up the next time for you without having to click through all of that. And I've heard it can be like a 3 or 4 step process that you're having to allow access. A couple of, you got to click through a few screens to finish that process. So be aware of that. But so I'm going to click on this training approval request. So if you need to submit something, you want to get the state's permission to take this training, this is the process. So it'll open this up, case-by-case training request form. The first step's just kind of administrative. You're going to click on fill out the new case-by-case training request. This is where, when I'm logging in to actually review and approve your trainings that you've submitted, this is the one I click. So click on fill out new case-by-case, and then go through the process. So it's just going to ask for your name, your email address, the agency that you're from, the name of the training, a description of the training, and a URL for the training if you have one. Now the goal with this is that you're trying to give us at the state enough information to show why this would be a valuable training. So wherever possible, include a URL so we can click on that and go to the website and learn a little bit more about it. You need to identify who would be allowed to attend, just like we did with all those online trainings. You need to narrow this down to those who this would be applicable to. You got to figure out roughly how long, what the duration of the training is, the cost per person if there is a cost, a guesstimate on how many from your agency would attend. If there is any accreditations, either through IREC, if it's something that would qualify for BPI approved CEUs, or DOPL may have some contractor CEUs or something else. You got to identify that and fill that out. This one's really important. The job task analysis, JTA, or job alignment. This is where you guys have a little bit of responsibility here. You've got to identify if this training is for auditors, field techs, crew leads, or QCIs. You've got to identify which JTAs that would apply to this training. Or basically, what the JTAs are is their DOE had, I think NREL did an evaluation of each of these jobs, and they identified the skills, knowledge, and abilities that somebody doing this job would need to have in order to do a good job. And so they have this long list of knowledge, skills, and abilities, and your job would be to actually go through that list and identify which of those knowledge, skills, and abilities would apply, and include that here when you're doing a JTA or job alignment. Now, if it's not for one of these 4 job categories, then you would need to list the duties from other positions that are going to be improved upon by doing this training. For the attachments, attach a copy of the training agenda or syllabus if it's available, and then any comments you have, and then hit submit. Once it's submitted, it comes to me or someone else at the state. We will review it, and we will either approve it or deny it, and you will get an email based on the email that you put into that form. You'll get an email about that approval or denial. If it is approved, then you'll see it show up on this page 2 of the pre-approved trainings worksheet, and the approved case-by-case ones. So it'll just show up right there. And then I guess really the first step in the process, but the last button we're going to talk about, is how to log a training. So you can click on this button here to log a training. Again, once every single individual finishes a training, they need to get in and log the training, or you need to have somebody from your staff log all of their trainings. But the goal is to keep a record of all these things. So to log a training, it's pretty straightforward. You're going to select your name, your agency, whatever your job duties are, and this, you could have a couple of them, so you can select multiple things. But remember that this form is just for one person. And then you're going to select the training type. So I guess I better fill this one out. I'll say I'm from Bragg. I'll be an auditor and a QCI, and then the training type. Now, we have 2 different piles. We have that pre-approved list, and then we also have anything that shows up on the case-by-case. So if you select pre-approved and go to the next screen, then you'll see this drop-down list, and it has all of those pre-approved ones on, and you gotta select the right one, and then you can move on through the process. The other option here was just selecting the case-by-case approval training, and if you select that, then it will bring up anything that was on that second screen, the case-by-case approved trainings. And there's a reminder here that training must be approved for your agency. So again, if you're from Bragg, you can't select the one that says UCA here. So I've identified these by case number, by agency, and then the name of the training. Once you get those approved, you'll have a case number included in your approval. So hopefully that'll help you identify exactly which training it is. Then once you pick one of these or pick one from that other list, then it's going to ask you to attach a certificate of attendance of some sort. I'm going to just throw a fake one on here and upload that, and then it's also going to ask you the date that you completed it. Now, for this certificate of attendance, wherever possible, if the training is actually putting out something kind of official, please attach a copy of that. If they are not, then you need to do your very best to grab a screenshot of something that shows your name and that you completed the course. So hopefully once you're done, it will say good job or something like that. If you can grab a screenshot at that point, that should be sufficient. So and then the last step in this is there's just a quick course evaluation. It's pretty generic, but just tell us a little bit about the quality of the training, whether you'd recommend it to others, what you learned, and then go ahead and hit submit. And again, once you've submitted that, you should be able to look at this logged trainings and see that you have logged that for your agency. So hopefully you guys have fun with this. We hope this is going to be a good resource for you and help you guys improve your job skills. So enjoy.